Hello there! Welcome to another episode of Flash Zellow, Fiction Done Fast, the show where I take a bunch of writing prompts from my friends and turn them into one-page short stories for your entertainment. What is this? It's a little stand. It's a little wet spot. It's fine. Staying hydrated is important. Good evening, Zyfax. Are you new? Either way, welcome. How's it going? Oh, you are. Well, in that case, warm welcome. Because, if I know you, then, it's just, it's Zyfax, it's that guy. Here we go again. But since you're new, it's exciting times. Don't ask me what I'm on about. How are you doing this evening? Is it indeed a good evening? Glad to hear it. It's been a gloomy day here. It's been cloudy and snowy and kind of just a good day to do not much. I streamed at 2:30 yesterday. This evening I'm like, I guess I should stop playing video games and finally do that thing that I do. I've met my word count goal, working on my editing goal. Hell yeah. What's your, what kind of word count goals do you do? I'm always curious, but then I always feel bad because I feel like my word counts are always very small by comparison. It's fine. But, grim weather makes for good writing. Very minimal during the week, 250 a day. All right, okay, because that makes me feel a little better. Because I burned... where is it? Stephen King daily word count. Yeah. 1,000 words? Although this website is saying 2,000 words. So, yeah, the number I had in my head was 2,000 words a day. And, yep, there it is. 2,000 words before lunch. When I'm on a good streak, and I don't mean like for a day, I mean like for an extended period of time, I averaged out at about 800 a day. And then on the last novel I wrote, which I got the rough draft, turned out like 153,000 words, and I was averaging like 500 a day. But unlike I like to joke, the first two novels where I said that 800 words a day I did as an undergrad, and then I got a job where I was working 40 hours a week, and suddenly it was really, really hard to hit those kind of numbers without wanting to cry or die. Why not both? So, but yeah, 250, hey, that gets you a novel in, what, NaNoWriMo is 50,000 words, so 250, six and a half months. Eat your heart out, Stephen King. I mean, don't. I mean, maybe. He seems like the type. I just want to make sure I write on a regular basis. That's the fucking tough thing. Like, I'm better at writing on a regular basis than I am editing on a regular basis. Let's see, what was the last day? Oh, that's not good. That was 5 days ago. Oh no. Fury the Phoenix, hello! Bunch of new faces, I think. Wait, are you a new face? Are you a new username? I might recognize you. I don't remember. Sometimes like your stream, and it's good to see you right. Well, thank you. My editing goal is 25 minutes on days I have off. I need to do something like that, man, because, like, it's so easy for me to fall behind. these days especially. I have dropped in before. I thought so. I apologize. My memory is not... It's not the best. But, no, 25 minutes a day, that sounds great. Again, I when I get on a good roll, I keep going, but I've probably only spoken up like once or twice. Yeah, it's fine. I talk enough for a bunch of people. Sorry, I was just thinking about things that friends have said about how much I talk. And I'm like, it's rude. Not you guys. Them. 2 years ago. How dare they? Still haven't gotten over it. So what kind of story are you working on? It's Zyfax. Zyfax? Zyfax. Zifix? I feel like I said it out loud, and I felt confident about how I said it, and now I went to say it again, and that confidence has completely left me. But what kind of story are you working? Editing? Doing? It's actually awesome watching the way you do. Wait. Possibly a good quality in a Twitch streamer. It's the fear of silence. It's awesome watching the way you do a writing stream, as I'm a writer as well, but I can rarely think of interesting ways to stream writing. I did spend a bit of time. I've hung out in Travis Tavern Talks and Coffee Quills and Raven Writes. They all seemed like really good people. I don't think I could do what they do. I considered trying to do. I don't know. The idea of. Hey, hon.
Hello.
I referenced the novel. I've talked about the novel a couple times, but the idea of actually working on something that intensive on stream is a bit much for me. So I it took a while, but when I finally clicked onto, well, what if I did flash fiction? So I was just doing these short contained bursts. And that way, I also kind of like the idea, because I've popped into some of their streams, and there's always that, like, inevitably once per stream, someone going like, so what is this thing you're doing? And you got to kind of go through the, like, introduction, whereas with these, I only do the flash fiction, so, like, I think it's, yeah, okay. I was like, is my screen right? Yeah, so I've got, I do one page, I take the prompts, turn them into one-page stories, and that way, theoretically, anyone kind of just popping in doesn't have to... they don't need a lot of explanation to kind of catch them up to speed on what we're doing, because they all, it just comes in small little bursts. The story I'm editing is about a dragon PI solving a murder mystery with were trees getting chopped down in tree form. Not exactly a traditional corpse. Think of a pun. Think of a good pun. Nope, I got no pun. But that's rife. I know people who could do a Dave Caruso pun. Wait, fiance. Give me a pun.
I don't know.
Okay. There you go. You could always... No, it's not punny, because I couldn't think of one. No, that's cool. Vaguely reminds me of a story a buddy wanted to write back in high school that, as far as I know, he never got around to. Actually, this first prompt here, nighttime security guard, a museum infected with the dark magic of an ancient artifact while trying to stop some thieves from stealing it. That was the very first prompt I ever did. He had an idea for a dragon buddy cop story. Again, I don't think he ever did anything with that. I don't remember the specifics now, but it was like Men in Black, but with a dragon instead of Tommy Lee Jones. So it was kind of like Men in Black. And real fast, so I ended up sticking to games. I'm assuming streaming or, I don't know, creating games on Twitch. That could be fun, depending on if you knew how. The creative itch is becoming overpowering. I get that. Hey, Scarlet Fury. Panel on the screen giving a brief synopsis or description of the activity for any latecomers. Well, that's just too darn sensible. You stop giggling back there. Okay, we're gonna continue with the laugh track. What genre do you write in mostly? Oh God. I tend to I do a lot of genre fiction, and I gravitate toward. I've noticed on the prompts. Okay, I could have given you a simple answer, but that's not what I'm gonna do because, well, that's just how I am. I definitely gravitate toward genre fiction and specifically more horror. I definitely gravitate toward horror, at least with these prompts. I grew up writing a lot of fantasy. Not as much sci-fi. I like sci-fi. I just never felt qualified to write it. My technobabble sucks. But yeah, so it kind of bounces between fantasy and horror. Let's see. Horror, cyberpunk, grimdark fantasy are what I go for mostly. I want to write more cyberpunk and like sci-fi. I haven't, like, even in the prompts, I've written a couple because people give me prompts that's like a cybernetic child. I'm like, well, I guess we're doing cyberpunk. There's nowhere else I could take that, genre-wise at least. And even then, I'm like, there's something that's not clicking for me, and I want to find something that clicks. We'll get there one day. I've been doing D&D Dungeon Master Planning as well, world building 1,000 times 1,000. So writing in a different form. Hell yeah. Do your prompts come from viewers, Discord, or something, or do you get them from elsewhere as well? I have a set of friends who are all incredibly creative, and they're so patient because I just keep pestering them. Except for Scarlet Fury. She's the only one that just keeps throwing me prompts left and right. So yeah, no, I made up a little meme. It was the Bernie Sanders. I'm once again asking you for those dank, juicy memes or something like that. I would just send that out to people. Be like, I need more prompts. I'm down to like 2. And we have been down to the barrel a couple times, and Scarlet Fury has always come in clutch and thrown me like a handful of prompts. Like, what about this? And it's like, cool, I'll work with it. One of the prompts that we did from like 2 days ago, I think, was where is it? I don't have any prompts at the moment. Arya, which is my friend's partner, suggests a blind narrator, and that's all. I don't know. I had a dream about a bleeding house recently. And I was like, great, I'll take it. I can make this work. And then I stared at it for a while, like, I have no idea what do I do with this? So I just wrote a story about a blind girl in a house with bleeding walls. And Scarlet Fury can tell you if it was any good or not. So yeah, a couple of people in the chat have thrown me prompts at various points. Tincture did. Adanchi. Adanchi has bounced around a couple times and thrown me a couple prompts. I was quite impressed. See, I want to take the compliment, but on the other hand, Scarlet Fury and I are basically siblings, and I want to argue with her so bad. I'm going to be like, well, she's easily impressed by, like, so much. She thinks I'm a good writer. Wait. Do you self-publish with anything you write on stream? Not so far. I've only been doing... How long have I been doing this? I didn't start terribly long ago. My first stream was back in October. And right now we're sitting at like... Oh. Did they change this? Control-Shift-C. Yeah. Control-Shift-C. Alright. We're sitting at 46,000 words. Just because of NaNoWriMo, I wanted to throw myself at trying to hit 50,000. So we're getting close to what I would consider a novel's worth of flash fiction. And from there, I'm probably going to self-publish, or at least look into self-publishing, because I have worked with an editor in the past. She's absolutely lovely. Her name is Kat Howard. She wrote An Unkindness of Magicians, which I really enjoyed. Where? Oh, it's been a little while since we messaged back and forth. I don't know where it went. That's fine. Oh well, not important. I've published a few books, a short story, a shared anthology, mostly on the indie Amazon level. One solo novella. Sadly, due to working a theme. Sadly, due to working to a theme, it doesn't best reflect my style, so I took a step back from publishing this past year. Hey, it was 2020, right? Like... So, no judgment there. I want to find this thing. I know it's not important, but now I'm obsessively, like... There's gotta be something in... Oh, yeah, no, I talked to Kat, who edited the horror novel that I'm now going through and still working on. And I told her a little bit about the I told her about the flash fiction. She said, I'm honestly not sure about this side project. It is much harder to sell short collections than it is novels. And as someone who's been fortunate enough to And as someone who's been fortunate enough to sell both, the collection sold for significantly less, even though it was the same publisher. But if you have a lot of Twitch followers, that might be enough to generate outside interest. I'm honestly not sure. There's the issue as to whether streaming the pieces counts as first publication. It might, and that makes selling things more difficult, at least on story-by-story basis. I know publishing on a personal blog would, but because a stream is ephemeral, at least I think it is, it might be different. However, in terms of markets, there are some magazines that take flash, but you don't need to be agented to sell individual short fic pieces. I'm pretty sure Daily Sci-Fi does, and I think Fantasy does as well. Uncanny, but they're open pretty rarely. And honestly, if you're writing the stories anyway, you might start sending them out just to get used to the submission process. I feel like this was no help at all. I'm sorry. So, let's see. Oh, I getcha. Oh, thank you for the stream. I've made my editing goal for the evening, heading to sleepy time. Happy writing. Well, well, you already wrote, but happy writing as well to you. Whoa. Quiet back there, you.
No.
Have a good evening, Zyfix. Thank you for popping in, and, keep it up. Keep up that good work. I'm proud of you, son. Thanks, Dad! Anyways, So I get what you're, Fury the Phoenix, I get what you're saying. I misunderstood so you were working to a theme for the anthology. Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah, okay. Oh, the alarm is telling me it's time to feed the cats.
I already did.
You already fed the cats? Okay. There's some stray cats that hang out outside of our house, and we put out food for them. No, I can dig that. I can see how that would be really difficult. I tried I was talking about this. I briefly mentioned it on. So you would have to bend and mold the story to set name, and sometimes it would feel a little artificial. There's a couple of people who have popped into this chat. Actually, let's see. I think most. Okay, so 8 years ago, me and some writer friends from college we tried to do a shared continuity anthology, where basically we would each write. It was supposed to be kind of like World War Z, except it was like we'd each have like 5 chapters to tell one character's story over the course of, in this shared environment. We would kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe share characters and, build up this singular story through each other. And it ended some friendships. It was bad. It got real tense. Like, there were literal, like, yelling fights. Yeah, fights were, it was bad. It was really, really awful. So I can understand how working to a theme might be a little challenging. I mean, we were trying to work toward a shared continuity, a shared theme. Oh god, it was bad. Because we didn't have what in D&D terms, I think they call it a 0 session. Right? 0 session is a thing in D&D?
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't do that. We just dived right in. They decide key factors in the continuity. We didn't have quite... That didn't necessarily happen for us. It was more of... I literally had... one of the people flat out... Someone was like, oh, wouldn't it be kind of fun if we, if I collaborated with so-and-so? And that person literally said, no one else gets to ink my character. I was like, I am so glad you've joined this collaborative effort. No one can ink my character. It's like, oh, this is gonna get hard. And one of the people was like a hardcore Stephen King fan, and like really adhered to the discovery writer thing. So everyone else was like outlining their chapters and be like, okay, so in chapter 3 this happens to you, and then we'll find your character in his chapter 4, and then it'll kind of like tell the story. And we'd turn over and be like, hey dude, so what's happening in yours? He's like, I'm just figuring it out as we go. And it's like, no, we need to know. We can't unless you gotta. And one person, the probably the biggest one, and this was the worst of the fights, but also we're actually still really good friends and we're working on a new project together. I need to message and actually see how he's doing on that. But as he put it, he admitted later, he's like, I was trying to do some like writing as therapy. And I was like, oh, no, that's, like, I think that's a really noble pursuit. Maybe not in a collaboration with a bunch of undergrads, but, in isolation. So, didn't quite end friendships, but Dev pissed me and others off. Like, the catalyst for an apocalypse, for which none of us had yet decided, was ultimately decided by one author just putting it into his work. And the catalyst, in my opinion, was terribly cliche and hackneyed and undermined the purpose of the series. I don't think any of us would have voted for it. Yeah. So, it sounds like communication issues across the board, both on your project and on mine. The dumbest fight that ended up happening during that collaborative project was we voted early on to say, hey, let's make it so there's a bit of a time gap between each chapter. So basically, because the idea was I would write it, every person, there were like 8 of us, would write chapter 1, and then we would have like a week break between chapters, and then we would all write our chapter 2s and a week break between, so like in world a week break, so that the continuities could kind of have a bit of time to expand and grow and not be like, but one guy was like, no, I want to end on a cliffhanger and I want to pick up right where we left off for every one of my chapters. I was like, so everybody else is doing like 5 weeks worth of story and you're doing a couple hours. He was like, yes, that's what I want to do. I was like, no. God damn it. So, I should hit those guys up and see if they want to try again. What do you think, Cassie? we're how many, 8 years older and wiser, right? We could definitely get along this time, right?
Sure.
See, she endorses it.
Sure.
It's really hard to deal with those kind of creatives. In all honesty, there were a couple of guys from that project that, like, I wouldn't mind. Like, we're still friends. They're still really creative. And, like, I love their work. I would love to do something much like a smaller version, a more manageable version of what we did or tried to do back then. I just avoid collabs now, honestly. I haven't done a collab in the last collab I did, I think Scarlet Fury. So now there's Scarlet Fury and Fury the Phoenix. So if I'm gonna end up fucking up both of your names at some point by, like, your Scarlet Furless of the Phoenix. That wasn't even intentional. That was just me fucking it up. Oh god. No. The last collaboration I did was a buddy of mine ran a radio station, back at my university. And I had a free period, and I would just come hang out in the studio while they recorded. It was scripted folk. It was like a scripted folk hour. So we would do, like, sketches and then like 10 minutes of folk songs, folk and indie, and then more sketches. And one day I walked in and he goes, "Shane, I don't have an ending. I need you to help me come up with an ending." I was like, oh shit. I was wondering if you were going to bring up the story from high school. Which one? Are we talking about the big one? The collaboration, that collaboration, Scarlet Fury. Isn't it enough to just see my soul leave my body? Or do I have to explain it? I don't really want to explain it. Your summary lasted 5 hours. Yep. That's a tale for. I don't have 5 hours to go because now it's not the summary that takes 5 hours anymore. It's the behind the scenes that takes 5 hours to explain. Of. It just hurts. It just hurts. Oh god. That kind of goes to show, though, like, something that was so important 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, right, that existed. Oh, God. Okay, what's the super, like, beyond Cliff Notes, what's the tweet version of this? Me and 3 guys from high school tried to collaborate on a series of novels. I think at its peak, there were supposed to be 40 stories sharing a continuity. And it lasted like 6 years. From 2008 to 2014 was when I finally put a stake through the heart of the last of that collaboration. And, yeah, collaborations kind of suck if you're with the wrong people. Scarlet Fury, don't worry, Dune Harper was fine. He's not included. I think he was, like, the first one to be like, I'm fucking out. This sucks. I was like, no, come back. You're the only sane one here. Which is a really sad thing to say. Alright. I should probably get to writing, though. Oh, I never did end up sending that timer I had meant to do. Oh, well, that's fine. Good summary. Yeah. So the first thing I do is I go through all the prompts I've got. I read them out loud and, grab one that speaks to me at the moment. Oh. Okay, so Tincher dropped a noir detective-style story about a character stuck in a Home Depot. And He was stuck in a house for a year with only a box of sociopathic cereal to keep him fed. How will he reason with the grains in time to not starve? Only time will tell in the next thrilling episode of The Serial Killer. I think Tincture might have been stuck inside for too long. Quarantine has been very hard on Tincture. All of his prompts are about being trapped somewhere. Viramat89 threw us, the Angel of Death has a serious sit-down with his inept younger cousin, Natural Selection. Which I love that prompt. I'm not ready to touch it, though. Trilobit the Ninth gave us, in the lonely depths of January, in the mountains upstate New York, a woodsman finds a typewriter buried in the snow. I'm always worried about getting dud prompts, if not quite troll prompts. That's kind of why I mostly stick to just taking prompts from friends. I mean, to be completely honest, that is something I've thought about. Scarlet Fury can tell you about the time we got trolled, but I don't know if they were bots or jerks. But yeah, looked over into the chat and was just like, oh, we need to learn how to ban people. Something that just hadn't come up until that point. So, and I feel like with enough time, I've been given a couple of prompts that border on trolling prompts. Dusha said that they were funny. There you go. Scarlet Fury, this is why she wields the ban hammer. Okay. No, Viramat has given me a couple of prompts. I'm like, you are fucking with me. You are trying to, you're making my life really hard, man. They're really good prompts. They're just, I had to tell him at one point, I was like, you're giving me prompts. I don't know how to do these in a page. And because he was like, yeah, I was imagining you could do this or this or this. I was like, 1 page. You're describing a 10-page story, which is great. I would love to read it. Go write it. Okay. You're incredibly good at making decisions, but only in a very narrow field, and you're bad at the rest of the decisions. And that's from Swooby. Actually, I like that Aussie prompt because I am Aussie. Oh, cool. Suddenly, there was a part of my brain that's like, do the accent. I'm like, 1, no, that's... No. But 2, we can't do that accent. We're not that good at accents. So it would just be embarrassing for everyone involved. Okay. I am Aussie and we always joke about everything is out to kill you here. Yeah. That was a fun prompt. That was definitely the first prompt where I was just like, fuck it, we're making the dumbest political statement of how I described the family on Safari. The stereotypical Aussie accent, except for junky redneck types, is such a myth. Well, you know, I can at least say that growing up, I grew up around rednecks, and then I ended up around a fair number of junkies too, so... My people! Then, hanging out with the punk crowd. Where was I? Oh, there it is. Alex B dropped us a dump of prompts. We're American and we joke. Yeah. Same. I haven't been back. Well, I was back in 2019. My grandfather had a stroke, so I flew out there flew out to the Midwest for the first time since I was 13, and I mean, the big thing was just getting out of the car for the first time, being like, oh right, humidity, it's been a while, oh god, I want to die. Yeah. And then hearing, my family's accents, and I was like, it's been a real long time since I heard that accent. My aunt is from Texas. So my uncle's wife, she's from Texas, but they live in Oklahoma, so choice redneck. Choice rural accent. I don't know why there's this weird fear of mine. It's like, they're going to find this stream. Somehow they're going to see this one part, and I'm going to get hell for it somehow. Let's see. Murphy's Law, man. It'll get you. So an impulse buy leading to intergalactic warfare. No one is too ordinary for our agency. The floor tasted like... The copy machine broke down in the middle of printing, which made this the third worst thing that has happened to me this morning. You have no idea who I am, do you? You dragged me into this hellhole, but you can't make me leave. And then Dune Harper gave us a drop, whatever. Collection? Basket? What's a collection of prompts called? A gaggle? The blue wall is all he can look at. If he looks at anything else, all he can see is his sun. White blood cells protect the body against germs through rap or poem battles. Hades is real sick of dealing with all the deaths his brother Zeus causes. Romeo is into men, but is too socially anxious to tell Juliet. Poncho and Lefty try to rob a bank. Poorly. An espionage agent tries really hard to not be Solid Snake in a mission, but fucking can't. A local play of Hamlet, but both the lead and their understudy got in an accident, so an extra has to wing it. I know my name, he said, in a faint whisper, arms wrapped over his head. My name is Harry. He knew his name, but he could not remember who he was. Alternate edition. My name is Jonas, he repeated again and again because he couldn't get the goddamn song out of his head. Little Noise Marine gave us a man suffering with extreme depression while being overjoyed. And then some more from Dune Harper. A hitman takes on a target known only by a few indicators. When he identifies the target, the hitman realizes the guy looks just like him. A person goes insane sitting in the car waiting for someone and has an anxiety-induced mini-trip. And then Scarlet Fury, here's a couple of hers. A woman is at work when she notices an old landline emergency phone hanging on the wall. She's never really paid attention to it before, thinking it must no longer be connected, when it suddenly rings. A person joins a flash fiction club only to learn flashing is not part of the agenda. Atanshi gave us 2 characters fall in love despite barely understanding each other, both bad at English between them, so they end up making their own language mixing all 3. And then Scarlet Fury threw us a sphinx trying to come up with new riddles because humans have memorized all the answers to all of her old ones. So let's see. There's one. I'm curious if anything comes out of this one. That Hitman one sound really cool. I mean, that's peak Dune Harper. That's very much the kind of story he does. And he does them super well. I usually do 2 a night, so I'll look back at that one. So let me think for a second. I have a quick question. I have no quick answers. Does the notion of plagiarism ever concern you? I know it's crossed my mind before. Like, in regard to these shorts, you know, in terms of these, the flash fiction, because like, not really, I guess. I mean, that's kind of why I decided, one of the reasons why, being a slow writer, expert procrastinator, I hate the idea of coming up with an idea and finding someone else has ripped it off while I was sleeping. I think, for me, part of it is that I don't really care. I feel like, I mean, here's an example, and I mean, it's old, but like I think it goes to show how prevalent this is. Most of Shakespeare's plays were not original. Like the William Shakespeare, almost everything he wrote was inspired by or based on or ripped off from something else. I mean, we do have far more aggressive copyright law than we used to, but am I mind being a stream my longer fiction and a right story? Like the one thing I think with streams, especially, I mean, if we're gonna go, you know, if you archive your streams, or I mean, Google, you know, Google Docs has, you know, it's got the version history, you know, going all the way back to, you know, when you created the document. So I guess, like, if you wanted to go to court, you could prove it, that, you know, that it was yours. So, like, for me, it's not, I'm not terribly worried about another person, like, like I said, I never have fast answers. I mean, I think a great example is actually, I had a friend, actually one of the friends from the collaboration that destroyed friendships back in college. I got one of the prompts was an old-timey gunslinger is about to duel at high noon, but he just took a concoction from the old Hoboken, fuck, I'm definitely saying that wrong, Indian medicine man, and is tripping balls. And I read that and I was like, Trilobitten would fucking, actually the guy whose prompt I was about to do, Trilobitten would fucking love this prompt. So I threw it at him and I was like, hey dude, I want you to try and write this, because this is like so up your alley. And at the end of it, let's compare. And what he wrote was so vastly different from what I ended up writing. So like, I think it's worth it to always kind of, not cover your tracks, that's not the term I'm looking for, but like, you know, make sure you, like, if something ever comes up, you can be like, actually, no, I did this. Here's the receipts. Always keep your receipts. Make sure you have those just in case. But like, I think most talented people, you know, they're going to hear an idea and either they're going to go, damn, that's a really good idea. That's like, I wish I was the kind of person to, like, I wish I was the guy to write that story. Because I've gotten that a couple times. Friends will be working on a story, and I'm just like, this is so far outside my, like, what I do, that even if I tried, it would be barely recognizable. So, yeah. Those are some uninhibited thoughts. Rambly, uninhibited thoughts. I have great thoughts. Ooh. I'll take the ego stroking, that's fine. No, in sheer terms of just like trying to rip off somebody's ideas, I don't really care too much, because like if you're doing it, this is gonna sound weird, in good faith, I guess, if you're like excited by this idea and you want to take it and do something, if you want to make it your own, I'm all for that. Because like, at the risk of going down an entirely different rabbit hole, I've been loving watching, I'm not on TikTok, but my fiance has been following the sea shanty trend. And I'm just kind of loving the fact that, like, you get so many variations and different versions, and they're all kind of pulling from the same well, the same source. I just really want to combine streaming with my creative side. I don't want to stream games all the time like everyone does, or everyone else. In streaming only games, that creative side gets neglected, you know? Yeah, no, I get that. Like, the most I can compare it to, on my end, I used to really love watching Markiplier, back in, like, probably, like, 2015, 2016. And and around that time is actually when I got my own console, so I started playing gaming on my own, and I just didn't feel like I needed to watch Markiplier as much because, well, I can go play the games myself. When he and Ethan from Crank Gameplays made the channel Unus Honest, they were creative and they were doing stuff wildly different, and they were, doing it daily. And I got really invested in that because it was like, oh, I'm getting to see them do this new, exciting, creative thing, and it's so much more fulfilling for me, at least, than just watching them play games. So, and anybody who likes games, or likes watching people stream games, because I think Scarlet Fury's around. I'm assuming you and Dune Harper still watch a lot of Game Grumps. I assume. So, I get that, because that's kind of what prompted this, is I wanted to do something to kind of get out there, but I wanted to find something, and I picked Flash Fiction that would let me do something that could be just for Twitch. And I partially got the idea. Actually, the idea for this stream was from Drawfee on YouTube. Where we take your dumb ideas and make even dumber drawings. Kind of even got folded into my intro, where I take writing prompts from my friends and turn them into one-page short stories. Not as catchy or entertaining as theirs, but that's where my head was at. So the idea of improv and kind of Drawfee, and then a couple of different she watches, or when she had the time, watched Ben Levere from Viva La Dirt League. Van Leer? I don't even know what I said. It's also tricky making writing either interactive and or visually appealing on a medium like Twitch or YouTube. Yeah. Which is why I've been hesitant to make it a hard, fast rule to be I take prompts from the chat, because I almost am nervous about opening that floodgate to be all right, I'm trusting a bunch of people I don't know, all 2 viewers, but you get my point. So at least for now, keeping it more to either people I know or people who've hung out in the stream a couple of times and we've had good chats. I feel a little more comfortable being okay, throw me what you got. Because there's nothing worse. The thing I would compare it to is I had a friend who been friends with him for years, and finally he's like, hey, would you look at some of my writing? And I was like, yeah, I've been fucking looking forward to this. We've talked about writing for years. And then I read the first chapter and was like, oh, this is going to be a long process. I tried to stream doing my World Anvil D&D stuff one time, and it was good. But I didn't have as much written back then, so it was a bit slow. Not that so much of that is built up, all the cultures and histories of my world, the work on stream would be a lot faster paced. Now that so much of that is built up. Hell yeah. I tried World Anvil. I didn't have the focus to really get into it at the time. I keep meaning... I don't think it's open anymore. But it used to be open in a tab, and I'm like, I gotta get back to that. I gotta work on that. And then I'd drift off and do something else. So, that sounds cool. World building is one of those, when I do fantasy, world building is one of those things that I kind of struggle with. I struggle getting invested in it, because I'm not a world building first writer, so for me it's always I have to get enough of the story down to start caring about the world building, and then I can have a lot of fun doing the side stuff, currency systems, history, culture. It's complex, huge learning curve. It's great for making random encounter tables and embedding them into location places in similar format to publish D&D adventures. I dig. Oh, actually, I don't have it anymore, but when I was running D&D, I would just write all the stats on a whiteboard and then, like, scribble them out as I went. I was... You know how Matt Mercer, like, maps out the entire town before an episode of Critical Role? I may map something out in front of my players when we get there. Humble beginnings. I mean, how long is our campaign been going? 3 years?
Yeah. Enough.
I don't think it's humble beginnings. I think I'm just a lazy motherfucker. I don't think there's going to be a day where I wake up and I'm like, you know what I got to do? Map everything. Well, no, there's definitely going to be a day where I wake up and think, oh shit, I got to map everything. And then I'm going to get to the game and I'm going to be furiously, like, mapping as my players walk in. Like, no, I swear I'm prepped. And they're going to go, yeah, Shane, we know. Ooh. Yeah, no, I only ran the one campaign. It was Numenera. So it was a it's okay. Trying to, like, shift my brain over. No, you're good, dude. I've wanted to play more. I was basically in a position where, so what I ended up doing, real fast. Scarlet Fury is starting to, like, harass me on chat, be like, in Messenger, like, you need to start writing. I know, I'll get there. I had Numenera. Little 5-minute to required writing start. Thanks, Mom. I'm a mess.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to agree with that.
No.
No, it's good. You're good. Also, this is bonding. This is how I get you to come back, and you become an active part of the channel, and we become friends, and I don't know. I don't even have a SoundCloud, so I can't even... what was I gonna say? Oh, I wanted to do, I just know you have ADD, and we'll talk forever otherwise. I might actually not. I've never been diagnosed for anything. I'm just me. Although, I hit the age of, like, 25, and I was like, I think I might have anxiety. It's like, yeah, those things, those are called anxiety attacks. I was like, no way! That doesn't happen to everybody? Normally, I'm the one who causes this. Normally. But there's new people, relatively new. I did the D&D, or the Numenera campaign, just to... I'm 34 and just found out I had bipolar. Explained an awful lot. Yay! Creative types, right? We're all fucked. I started doing the Numenera campaign set in my fantasy world from the books I had been working on as a world building challenge, just because I had to, like, you will never realize exactly how incomplete your world building is until you release two college, or not college kids. We were out of, well,
We were kind of college.
Alex was in college still. Until you release two D&D players into your world. Until you release D&D players into your world, you'll quickly realize they're like QA testers. They will find all of the errors, and you will be suddenly just like, laying the tracks as the train is coming on. Oh, what's over there? How's this organization work? What is the culture of this place? Let's find out. Hit them with a random encounter of a couple of monsters, and then while they're like doing that, you're like, okay, so this culture is actually Wild West inspired. Yeah, that's good. But they have gothic monsters? Shit, I used the wrong monster. Oh fuck. Okay, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, I gotta love when someone throws you an improv curveball in stories. In my I will say my players aren't the type, like you always hear about the nightmare players who are like, you know, kind of purposely fucking with you. My players would just ask really innocuous questions, and I'd be like, oh, that's a really good question. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Oh yeah, no, I never thought about that. How about that? Huh. So, 7 years into college. My players are pretty forgiving. That's good. Because I have a buddy who's in a D&D campaign where apparently it's like the only they've been friends for a really long time, and this is like this is how they connect, and this is what they do, but it's not really a great campaign. So, which was my deepest fear when I started DMing, that I was going to end up in a situation like that where I was just like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. With D&D, however, not every DM is a natural or practiced storyteller, even if those types generally are more likely to gravitate to the role. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And like, I mean, it's the curse of like, no, to be honest, I feel like most people don't really, like, even if you enjoy DMing, you don't want to DM. You like, on some level, you want somebody else to do all the heavy lifting so you can just enjoy the game. But also, you know what? At this point, I feel like it's worth admitting. I'm not really. I thought I had an idea for this prompt, and it just away on its own, not from the conversation. So I'm like looking at this, going, "Fuck." Ugh. Maybe. I mean, that definitely was kind of something I was thinking. I was like, Fury of the Phoenix. Fury of the Phoenix. Okay. so many. What's the word limit? These usually turn out. It's just a little over a page. They average out about. Oh gosh. They're currently averaging at 326 words. And that was just an arbitrary that I just picked out when I first started out. So. Hey, Cassie?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question you probably don't have the answer to. Do you have any idea how heavy my typewriter was? It had to be like 30 pounds?
Between 20 and 30.
I don't know what the I don't know what the ribbon should say. I'm thinking. It's got to be something. I like that. Something ominous about the environment in which Stanley lives makes the familiar and pedestrian feel suddenly uncomfortable and hostile. I'm not gonna lie, I really, really had to fight the impulse to write oops or something just fucking like I don't know, something my heart is telling me to write something like some kind of gag. I'm gonna check something. I have an idea. In all seriousness, there was a part of my brain that's like, what would a fucking millennial say? Like, something, one thought that went through my head is like, I got through fucking 2020 for this, and then it just was, this is fine. And I hate how much I like it. There's a tweet I remembered. Here it is. Someday everyone will be able to immediately pick out all the millennial gravestones because everyone else's will be like, loving husband, wings of angels, and ours will be like, thank fuck, a very good boy, 1995 to 2064. Nice. She died doing what she loved, being murdered. And once that thought popped into my head, I was like, there is nowhere else I can take this. And then I saw that This Is Fine Dog, and I was like, there is nowhere else I can take this. BRB. Sorry, more times you read it, completely absurd, and that's fine. I like absurd. I grew up reading Douglas Adams. Is This a Death? There's some good ones. Here lies Andy, pepperoni, and cheese. Bold of you to assume we can afford gravestones. About fucking time. Finally a good night's rest. Finally got to retire. Hear me out. An angel. T-posing or dabbing. Still has a hint of the uncanny until that last line. Flash horror comedy. I love me a, like, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, or, like, I don't know if Cabin in the Woods really counts, but... You won't believe how he died. Dig here to find out more. This I really do like. Can we get some F's in chat? Anyways, okay. It's also worth throwing out there that the Trilobit in the Ninth, who gave me this prompt, I think he will appreciate that, because I think he really likes kind of that kind of humor, I guess. And I think for me, because, I mean, like you said, if there was another character in the story, then it would be like... That's one of the real challenges of finding... Like, what you suggested about having another... Don't trust blank if you had another character. If this was like a 5-page story or even a 10-page story, I think that would work really well. But when you only have that one page... And obviously, I could go back and I could rewrite it. I take horror seriously most of the time. I get really shitty with the cliche upright giblets, i.e. dumb characters doing dumbass... Giblets? Doing dumbass things, or the terrible dialogue or plot holes. Oh, yeah. For me, my hardest thing... horror... This is going to sound weird, but horror is not really my favorite genre, because so much of it... on an... I guess ideological level, I have a hard time with... stories about characters that just suffer and die. Where, like, this character is just here so you can watch bad things happen to them and watch them, experience bad things, and then they die. And it's like, oh, I didn't really get a lot of catharsis out of that, personally. I'm not throwing shade at anyone who does enjoy those kinds of stories or films or books, but that's just a hard sell for me. So I've noticed that I like... My wife tells me off when we watch horror films for either guessing accurately the ending plot and just talking all the way through the film. I do the talking all the way through the film thing, except I pause. If we're watching at home, I pause movies. Mm-hmm. She hates it, but I don't want to talk over the movie, so I pause it. Yeah. Which is why, like, I was talking to a friend... And I was like, yeah, I really like, here's some of the horror movies I like. And they were like, those aren't really horror movies. Like, one of them was It, Chapter 1 specifically. And he was like, yeah, it's not really a horror movie. That's like it's an adventure film with, like, horror elements. And I was like, fuck it, I like it. I don't care what genre it is, it appeals to me. Slashers were the beginning of the end for horror, as it became about torture porn and suffering glorification. I can dig that. I've heard good, I have not watched... Dune Harbour is taking after his mother. He'll just chat to me about something in the middle of a show. Which is why I pause. And then it takes 2 hours to watch a 40-minute episode. Quiet you.
Nope.
I love you.
I love you.
You agreed to marry me.
Yeah.
I haven't got... my... opinions of horror got kind of solidified somewhere between, what was it, Dead Silence and White Noise? I don't know why I ended up seeing those movies, but I was just like, or the film The Babadook. Oh yeah, The Babadook is so good. The Babadook is so good. Isn't The Babadook good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll press play and I'll start talking again. Good. Oh, yeah. No, Babadook is really good. Again, I really liked It Chapter 1. specifically. Trying to think of some other examples. I will say this though, because she loves horror. Horror is like bad horror is especially your genre. How many of the Hellraisers have you seen?
All but the last, like, 2 or 3.
So yeah, you can see how I appreciate horror more than your typical horror go, but that's the benefit of studying and practicing as a genre, I suppose. Oh yeah. Oh, totally. And I've seen, I'm good with supernatural horror, but if it's plausible, I can't handle it. That's interesting, because my friend Swooby, who's been in the chat a couple times, for him, it's like, oh, what was it? Bloodborne. He couldn't play Bloodborne. He just couldn't do it. It was too, like supernatural, weird, like, he couldn't deal with that, which I thought was really interesting. It's funny where various people draw the line. When we saw It in theaters, I just wanted to share this little story. There was a moment where I don't even know what scene it was.
I don't know.
Okay. But I was, getting agitated?
Yeah.
And you, like, reached out to hold my hand, and I slapped her. I slapped her hand in the movie theater.
Said, you did this to me.
Yeah, you did this to me. This is your fault. So I'm really easily spooked in watching movies. I am a fucking chicken. But, The Strangers. Dune Harper made me watch it. Half the movie I watched The Lion King in my head while staring at the clock under the TV. Good. I don't think I've ever had a reaction that bad. There are a couple of movies I'm like, I just don't think this is going to be something I'm going to enjoy. Like Hereditary.
It's good, but yeah.
So I haven't seen Saw. But I've heard that the first one at least has something to it that is more than the torture porn that the later films became. But again, it was one of those movies where I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna enjoy this experience. So I just never got around to watching it. And then so I was adopted when I was 16. That's a long story and it's not important. But when I was I went from being an only child to having a bunch of siblings, and so I ended up seeing a fair number of. There were a couple of movie nights where we watched like Jason Takes Manhattan and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And some of the I've never seen one of the Halloween films, but I've seen a couple of the Friday the 13th and a couple of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and like when I was young, you enjoyed Saw. Realized how stupid it was. Death is messy. Okay. See, I'm ambivalent about supernatural horror films, mainly because I am only partially spiritual and not in an organized sense. So the monstrousness of man is particularly affecting dread for me more than monsters in the night. A whole library of movies that I've memorized. It comes in handy during boring work days and while watching horror. Oh, Scarlet Fury. Sorry, Fury of the Phoenix. Fury of the Phoenix. I had a thing right before bed last night. I had a question I wanted to throw out there. You mentioned the other day that for video games especially, the soundtracks changing tempo has like an anxiety-inducing effect on you, yeah? If I'm remembering that correctly? Like if it shifts the tempo from one thing to another real quick? No, Scarlet Fury. Sorry. The one with the sword, the one I went to high school with? Fuck me, man. Alright, one of y'all's gonna have to change. No, you're not gonna. I'll make it work. Anything changing tempo very quickly, even clapping. Don't clap like a jackass. Okay, I had a question. Do you think, because I know that rain also affects it gives you nightmares. I was right as I was falling asleep last night. I was like, rain is kind of like percussive. I wonder if it's the percussive aspect of rain that. I wonder if these two things were connected. If like the percussive aspect of rain, is it all similar to, the, tempo changing in music or clapping? Because even clapping, then I would almost wonder if rain has a correlation to that. I don't know. Idle thoughts. And then the Monsters of Man is particularly affecting dread for me. More the Monsters in the Night. I think that's what it is. That makes sense. There's a writer that I grew up reading a lot of named Stephen R. Donaldson. He didn't really do horror. He did write things that were horrific, but that was never the like primary genre. Shouldn't have considered that too. Oh, all right. I don't know where to go with that now. From there, it's like, oh, cool. We've established that there may, in fact, be a connection. BRB, got to get my kids some lunch before they whine me to death. This is fine. Gotcha, you're in a very different time zone than I am then. Cool. All right, I'll use the opportunity to find a prompt. Hell yeah, if I turn the camera around, you can see it's not that. Oh, you can still see me. How about that? Anyways. It's dark here. It's a good theory. I assume it's the sound of the rain because I'll go to bed with clear skies and wake up from a nightmare to find it had rained is raining. But rain while awake doesn't bother me. I wonder, there's a part of me that now wants to do, like, science and, like, either get you, like, some noise-canceling earplug or noise-blocking, earplugs, or, like, just stick you in a bunker where, like, no possible sound, like, fucking soundproof your room. So, you, like, there's no way you could hear it. And, like, start, like, you'll be a lab rat. Yes, that's the plan. No, but, that would be, like, you'd go down the list of, like, one sense at a time and be like, is it the sound of rain or is it the smell? Obviously it's not sight because your eyes are closed and you're inside. But go down that list and kind of determine what it is, or at least what it is not. Or maybe it's just, I know for me, I'm weirdly sensitive to, like, shifts in barometric pressure. So, like, when weather snaps, I get real kind of groggy and almost like I'm coming down with a cold, which has definitely made the last, like, 5 months real fucking fun. Because every time the weather, like, snaps up and down, I'm waiting in the next day or two because it started snowing again. I'm going to feel like, ugh. And I'll have to go through that process of, am I sick? Am I sick? And is it COVID? Or am I not sick and is it just the weather? So, like, our bodies are so much more sensitive than just the, 5 senses we're supposed, that we have that are, like, way more than that. Anyways. But yeah, that's your homework now, is to find a way to soundproof your room in time for a storm. So, Scarlet Fury, did you see the trailers or did you see the film Gemini Man? Because I'm struggling with this one not to just write Gemini Man. By the way, you still have to read your old story. And I did not. I mean, did you didn't see the trailers? The Bruce Willis versus Bruce Willis film where he's an assassin who's they clone him and then they send the clone to kill him. CGI is fucking really good, but like I heard the movie was pretty mediocre. I did not. Oh yes, I did see that. I'm sorry. Who's that actor? Did I say Bruce Willis? Is that what I said out loud?
I don't know.
I meant Will Smith. Oops. There's Will in both names. Throw me a bone. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. My brain is fucking mush. And I apparently forgot the other thing, so I get them confused all the time. Yeah, no, it's because they look so similar. Okay, I'm gonna read this because you did remind me, and I forgot I hadn't done the thing. There's a kind of chill one only finds in the mountains during winter. It strikes like a physical blow and then creeps into the recesses of your body until even your bones have iced over. For Dane, it was the only kind of winter he knew. He lived here all his life. Never stepped foot in a city, and that suited him just fine. After all, what could a city offer that the wilderness couldn't? Nothing, as far as he could tell. As his snowshoes crunched across the surface of the snow, an unnatural glint of the rising sun reflected off something unnatural. So we used unnatural twice there. Okay, as his snowshoes crunched across the surface of the snow, an unnatural glint of the rising sun reflected off of a half-buried something. That was the shine of something a person left behind. Dane grumbled. The shine of something a person left behind. Dane grumbled to himself as he made his way over to investigate. Considering the amount trash city folk had left behind, he couldn't fathom there was much about them that he hadn't already sussed out from their litter alone. This, however, was new to him. This, however, was new to him. The chrome corner of a typewriter stared back at him, the rest buried in the snow. How about this? This, however, was new to Dane. The chrome corner of the typewriter stared back at him, the rest buried in the snow. A frown crept across his features, and in spite of himself, he glanced around the wooded area. Predictably, all he saw was trees. Dane scraped at the snow, slowly unburying the device, his frown growing ever deeper as, along with the keys, a set of icy blue fingers revealed themselves to him. Dane was standing atop some poor bastard's final resting place. Who in their right mind would come out into the woods lugging a typewriter with them? A heavy one by the looks of it. Some damn city person, he thought, eyeing the typewriter ribbon. Maybe they'd left a message. Some damned fool liberal elite with dreams of being the next Alexander Supertramp or Aaron Ralston. Idiots, the lot of them. Dane pulled out the typewriter ribbon and held it up to the early morning light. This is fine. I like that you just pump out your words and fix later. I try to do that, but I pause a lot. Trying to get the sentence right the first time. Insanity. I mean, that comes later. So I was, I don't know if you were here, I was telling, I'm glad you like it. It's a little wordy. There's a couple of points that if I went back through and edited, I'd probably cut out a couple of things like, where was that one thing? Who in their right mind would come out into the woods lugging a typewriter with them? Just cut with them. There was a couple of other ones. Fix that. Dane grumbled himself as he made his way over to investigate. And it's like, okay, we can probably assume he's investigating. So Dane grumbled to himself. But even that, it's like, well, who else is he grumbling to? So it could be Dane grumbled as he made his way over. So maybe I don't know. I think the first line of the first paragraph, tense is inconsistent. Present tense and past tense, the rest of the story. Yeah. It's also like the only time I did, second tense, your body. Yeah. Oh well. One day. Sorry, I shouldn't be nitpicking. No, it's fine. If I go down that rabbit hole, I will be here all night. I think while you were away, I don't think you were here. I mentioned my hesitation with the hitman takes on a target who looks just like him is every version of this that I think of. I'm just like, yeah, that's Gemini Man with famous actor Will Smith. If you scroll up in the chat, don't become like me. If you scroll up in the chat, you'll see Scarlet Fury going, who's that actor? Who did you say that actor is? Because instead of saying, or Looper, man, Looper's so fucking good. I actually kind of forgot. I actually didn't even think about Looper in context of this. Well, it's also a story I can't do. Fuck! Okay. Well, let's go down the list real fast. So we've got... Could be natural. So there's the version of the... Gemini Man I'm not sold on, to be honest. My wife said it was okay. Yeah, I didn't say Will Smith. I actually, the funny thing is, you just mentioned Looper. I said Bruce Willis. So my brain was on a different fucking level. I was thinking about time travel. My brain was on time traveling. My brain went from this conversation 5 minutes into the past to say Bruce Willis instead. It all works. I'm still a genius. Fuck it, I have an idea. Just like him. You know, I don't know if it's because we streamed a bit later in the evening. Sensory hypersensitive. I'm definitely checking off some boxes. Oh dear. Well, I'm glad that my stream, if nothing else, could give you some context for your sensory hypersensitivity. So there you go. We did some good in the world today. Fury the Phoenix. We helped Scarlet Fury. Fuck. I didn't know it wasn't limited to just sound. I remember being a kid and not being able to use some blankets because it was like being pricked by 1,000 needles. My partner didn't realize she was likely autistic on the spectrum until later, and it was the volume of weird sensory triggers she has that, in addition to other things, seemed the most damning evidence. Yeah. To be completely honest, I'm almost unconvinced that I know anyone who is neurotypical. I mean, my fiance and I have literally had the conversation of like, do we know anybody who doesn't have a condition? Or, a condition, and not really. Well, I've wondered if I'm on the spectrum. Women often don't get diagnosed until much later than males, if at all. Girls are misdiagnosed so much. I mean, their fiance. We've looked into what we're talking about. Fury the Phoenix just wrote, women often don't get diagnosed. His partner didn't realize she was likely autistic until later. And then they were saying, women often don't get diagnosed until much later than males, if at all. Girls are misdiagnosed so much. And, I mean, we talked about that with ADD.
Yeah.
And a bunch of conditions that either manifest different in girls.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Atanchi.
Mainly we've talked about ADD, because me, even though we're fairly certain that I am
a mess.
Yeah, I'm a mess. Depression, anxiety, ADD. I don't think I'm actually OCD, but I'm definitely, like, neurotic.
Yeah.
I brought all the letters.
You bring all the letters to the yard. Hey, Atanchi. I don't know if I said hello. How are you? We were in deep on a conversation about neurodivergence. One could argue the idea of neurotypical is a crock of shit. No more than a normative social construct than anything concrete. Everybody has something, so neurotypical and neurodiverse are almost redundant terms. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I have one friend who's a great guy, but he's late 40s, and one of the last times we hung out, he made one of those comments of like, everyone today has a condition. I'm like, yes. Glad you noticed. But that's not what he meant. He was, back in my day. I was like, no, back in your day. And there's so much overlap between things, especially like bipolar, me, schizophrenia, anxiety, ADD, ASD, etc., etc. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's because like I haven't been. I did therapy for a couple of years. There was no diagnosis, but pretty confident that I'm probably like, at least anxiety and depression. I have some pretty bad. And then we've discussed the potential of PTSD.
Oh yeah, I definitely have that.
Oh yeah.
And like,
no, I was saying I was gonna say I might have that. We know you have that.
But we didn't mention it.
But we didn't mention. No. Wait, why didn't we mention it?
When we were listing off all my letters.
Oh, when we were listing, I was like, well, was I not supposed to say that? I'm sorry.
No, we hadn't mentioned that I have those letters too.
Right. So, where was it? Makes neurotypical seem increasingly absurd and as an idea. Yeah, I can get behind that. I'm researching SPD. Oh, sensory. So I'm guessing, I was going to say Google is telling me sensory processing disorder or symphysis pubis dysfunction. Mm. Also, pelvic girdle pain. I assume that wasn't. Treating it like some exceptional condition means it's stigmatized by the not depressed. Oh, wait. I've always disagreed with the normalization of depression and anxiety as bona fide condition only because depression and anxiety are part and parcel with every human life at some point to varying degrees and severity. Treating it like some exceptional condition means it's stigmatized by the not depressed. I have a... It's a challenge for me because for a long, long time I was... I would say that I didn't have... I was like... I don't have depression, I'm just depressed. Or I don't have anxiety, I'm just anxious. And then there was kind of a period where I didn't, it was after I graduated college. And suddenly I didn't have anything to worry about. Like, I had money, and I was fine, and... I was having a good time, and I was still feeling... So I almost felt like college and or life up until that point had kind of been like a mask for... not excuse, but like a framework to have... these feelings. Almost like I had, I could justify, like, I have these feelings because all this stuff is going on. Who wouldn't feel this way? And then once I was out of college, I was like, these feelings aren't going away, but the triggers are all gone. Oh, shit! And that vacuum, I guess, gave me the perspective to be like, oh, maybe there's something to this. So let's see. If we all acknowledge we experience depression, it's easier to talk about. Yes, that's the distinction I'm talking about. But then again, people only take it seriously when we're discussing it as a condition, i.e. I have depression, which is the fault with the society for not acknowledging the complex moving parts of the human experience emotional spectrum. Yeah. And like, for me, it's the, like, things like, there, I draw a line between, like, I'm anxious and anxiety, like, anxiousness and anxiety, where, I've had those moments, and she's watched me have this uncontrollable anxiety response. And And it wasn't, it wasn't until it was almost literally pointed out to me that, like, hey, this thing you're going through isn't really... The severity of it is not necessarily normal. Because for me, and this ended up being I guess we're going to a place. I'm going to go to a place, and then we're going to go back to writing for a bit. Because this conversation could get a little... trigger warning. How about that? Trigger warning for self-abuse. But no, throughout high school, before I had ever talked to a therapist or gotten any help or really even knew anything about these conditions or, mental health, the DIY method I had developed for getting out of, like, a thought spiral was self-abuse, which is really bad. Scarlet Fury remembers those days, probably, because, we were in high school together, and they're two sides of the same coin, and the way you delineate them is a fair point because they aren't exactly the same. It just sucks people only take one or the other seriously. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, yeah, and for me, it's a case-by-case basis. I'm not a professional in any capacity, so it's... not up to me to make a determination so much as to just trust when people tell me how they're feeling and to take that seriously. Like the fact that it comes down to semantics one uses as frustrating as someone who lives with a condition like this. Oh, I totally, yeah. Because I came from a background of like, yeah, no, it's nothing, it's fine, it's whatever. I had a bit of a learning curve when we first got together. Yeah. I don't think it was it wasn't too bad, was it?
No.
You hesitated. Now I'm thinking it might have been just that bad. I came from I hung out with a lot of the before I left for college. I was hanging out with like the punk kids in Vegas and like partying a lot, and I was a bit of an edgelord, so like, she brought me down to earth a bit. If I'm angry about something, people have in the past said, "Oh, is your bipolar acting up?" It's like, no, you're just being a prick trying to justify bad behavior, to which I have to respond with justified anger. There you go. I knew a girl in high school who, she would say, well, I have bipolar as an excuse to be kind of just mean and aggressive to other people. I didn't like that. So. Yeah. Yep. I mean, and that's wrong, IMO. To accept, imagine, if I do hurt someone, I take responsibility and accountability. Yeah, and I mean, in her defense, she was like 16, so like, I try not to hold people too accountable. Like, if it's more or less victimless, I try not to hold people too accountable for like, you were a real dick when you were a teenager, and it's like, and? It's like, touche, fair point. You got me there. We're all fucking messes. And like, not to say that teenagers get a free rein, just like, all these years later, I try not to hold them to the same, I try not to hold them necessarily to the same standard that I would hold a person now when I'm telling a story about back then. Because if I recall, my response to that was she was being a bitch, and I called her out on it. She said, well, I'm bipolar, and I yelled at her. So I wasn't doing terribly, like, I didn't do much to help that situation either, because I was a really, really angry teenager. But I was also like a Scarlet Fury. If you're still floating around, is it fair to say I was a huge spaz with like anger issues? So like, I don't know how I managed to balance those, but accountability isn't just owning the fuck up. It's preempting the things that can happen with management. For me, I know I need medication, my creativity, and exercise as means of keeping level. Oh fuck, I didn't exercise today. It's fine. It's an explanation, but should never be misused as an excuse. But on the other hand, empathy goes a long way. It's a push-pull scenario. Yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't want to shit on somebody that... I'm not sure about being a spaz about anger, but you were a spaz. I mean, there were some... But, like, when things happen, I was... Oh, okay, yes, I get it. I was a spazzy fucking teenager. Like... No joke, no denying that, but I was still, very angry. I mean, I mentioned I was homeless at 16, so like, there was a reason. I think you handled situations well for how angry you felt during times. Yeah, that's fair. I'll take it. I mean, I'm trying to find... Just because, why not? Hey, Scarlet Fury, I was trying to find a picture of me in high school, and every single one of them has Dune Harper in it. Do you think I can show a picture? Is that okay?
You didn't have to say who it was.
I didn't. I guess I could just pick a different picture then. I was just trying to find something from high school that, like, it exhibited my dorkishness. I can't crop it that fast, I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. It's not really that big a deal, but... Yeah, Okay. There. That was 17? I was 17, wearing a baseball cap, hobo gloves, and a corduroy blazer. So, like, peak spaz. I was still emo in my mid-20s. Hey, emo's not dead. Apparently, according to the YouTube channel. Felt emo might delete later. You singing sea shanties over there?
Probably. I don't realize I'm singing sometimes.
That's fine. Never Will Die. A place called Oh the Yanks. That's all emo. When I was a young boy, My father took me into the city to see a marching band. Anyways. Hitman takes on a target known only. So for you guys, when someone says emo music, what is the first band that comes to mind for you guys? What was kind of that, I don't know, introduction or defining band? Because for me, I'm like, I didn't even listen to My Chemical Romance, but like, there it is. For me, I love Under Oath. It's a bit heavier, screamo stuff. Gotcha. All right. Like, I actually didn't listen to a lot of emo in high school. The short version is I wrote a time travel story, where I decided that depending on where the characters were in the time travel, I would name the chapters after popular songs from that era. So there's a section of the book in 2010. So I was picking songs from like 2005 to 2010, and I was like, oh, I gotta listen to these at the very least. And then like I came out of it like, oh shit, these fucking slap. Okay. Does Snow Patrol count as emo? I don't think Snow Patrol counts as emo. I feel like they're more poppy. Wikipedia says indie rock, post Britpop. And I don't know Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. I did listen to a little bit of Escape the Fate. And I'm guessing you said you were in your 30s when you realized, when we were talking about various mental illness. So like, I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that most of the stuff that like Scarlet Fury and I, not exclusively, but like was popular when we were in high school together, probably was a little bit after you, I'm guessing. Not that it fucking matters, because I wasn't listening to popular music in high school. I was listening to the same shit my dad did, which was classic rock. So I was that kid. I was the Alice Cooper kid. I was out of high school in 2004. But when we got out of home, it was between metal and rave music. Even though emo was huge around that time, I enjoyed it a few years later. Yeah, hell yeah. I listened to a little bit when I got out of high school. No, after high school, I had some friends who listened to a lot of Avenged Sevenfold. Not emo, I don't believe. But that was kind of the circle I was running in immediately after high school. Was like, I heard a lot of Avenged Sevenfold. I heard a lot of Hollywood Undead, and a fair amount of like Disturbed. So my friends were all like, "We're metalheads, but we're not listening to like." I had the weirdest experience because my brothers were all like, oh, I'm trying to remember, like, they were like listening to thrash metal and what was that band who did the song Planetary Duality? The Faceless. So like that was where I got kind of thrown off because like my brothers were all listening to like really intense, like I think my brother Antonio really liked Lamb of God, and what was some of they listened to Atheists, they listened to Blind Guardian, which was a little milder, and then I would have friends who were like, you gotta listen to Hollywood Undead. I was like, okay, I'm getting hit on all sides by a lot of different things. So oh, Scarlet Fury says bless you.
Thank you.
And shit, did you sneeze?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Wait. Gesundheit, salute.
Uh-huh.
All right, I better be off. Got a few things to do today. All right, man. Hey, thanks for stopping by. This was actually a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. So I hope to see you again next time you have some time. My schedule's a little bit up in the air, but I try to be around. Like I said earlier, I think I streamed yesterday at 2:30, and tonight didn't get here until now. So, yeah. Mine too. I'll probably raid you the next time I finish the day stream. Hell yeah. Look forward to it, man. Have a good... I was about to say have a good night. Have a good day. Have a day, as my mom would say. Have a day. Okay. So, I think that's a fair place to call that story. We've been going for a very long time this evening. So I'm going to just take an opportunity to read this, and I think we're going to call it for the night because, whoops. There were so many other things we were going to do today. Today didn't go, but we got the stream and we got the stories, and that's all that matters. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so the prompt was, a hitman takes on a target known only by a few indicators. When he identifies the target, the hitman realizes the guy looks just like him. That's from Dune Harper. Another day, another job. Reese perched on the rooftop, eyes on the building across the way, hand resting on his hip, on his gun. The sun beat down, crisping the air around him, and one single fly buzzed around the area, occasionally taking the opportunity to land on Reese. Reese's? To land on Reese. Not hard to ignore. After all, he had a job to do. The target had dark hair, a scar across the right cheek, and a crooked nose. Not a lot to go off of, but it'd have to do. The door across the way creaked open, and Reese shifted his weight just a bit so he could see who was stepping out the door. The door across the way creaked open, and Reese shifted his weight just a bit so he could see who was stepping out. His muscles tightened, coiled, ready to spring. All he could see was a dark-haired figure jogging down the steps and onto the street. So far, so good. Reese brought his pistol up, feeling the sun-heated metal through his gloves. This might be it. He lifted himself into a crouch, ready to follow when the target turned. And looked at him. The description had been correct. Love and run. Have a great stream. Hey, thank you, Travis. Have a good one. Yep. I'm going to finish this. My brain doesn't shift gears very well. And looked at him. The description had been correct. Scar, hair, nose. Wasn't a lot to go off of, but Reese recognized every other feature on the target's face. He saw them every day in the mirror. The dark, sunken eyes, the sharp chin, right down to the cowlick. He had to abort. He had to get out of here. Somehow this was a setup, but Reese didn't have time to figure out how or why. He jerked away from the wall and ran for his escape route. The doppelganger met him halfway. As if it was expecting him. Reese was good, but that only worked against him. He was off balance, hesitant, and the doppelganger used that to its advantage. His meager offensive was countered blow for blow, and it gave even better, rocking Reese's head until he stumbled back, eyes blurry. The doppelganger dropped into a spin kick, sweeping Reese's legs out from under him. He hit the ground with a thud and looked up into his own face. Who the fuck are you? Reese Johnson, lieutenant for the TPD, he grinned. You've just been recruited. Well, there you go. I didn't see that coming. Oh, well, good. I was like, oh, this is going to be so fucking cliched. It's partially all you zombies. It's a Heinlein story about a character who, I forget what they called it in that one though. It's called the Temporal Bureau in that one. That story's fucking wild. I'll send you a link to it. It's a short story, but yeah. All right. Well, guys, that went real long, but the chats were good. So we are going to, let's see, Coffee Quills, Raven Rights. Ooh. Who do we go over to? How about we say hello to Coffee Quills? How's that sound? And I'm gonna okay, so that's all wrapped up. That's taken care of. All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone who was in the chat today. Scholar Fury, thank you for being here. Took a little while, but I think that the stories ultimately shook out. I have a harder time writing this late at night, which is why I tended to gravitate more towards the early day. But we managed to push through. We got there. It's fine. Yeah, so that is all I have to say. That's all I have to write. And I should be back on Friday. So, all right, that's all I have to say. That's all I have to write. Remember, no heroes in 2021. So, I'll see you guys on Friday. Bye.